Okay, England-Spain Women's Euros final has just concluded. It went to penalties. It was 1-1 after 90 minutes. No goals were scored in extra time, and England have come out on top in the penalty shootout. Spain had a meltdown in the penalty shootout. And yet again, England have dragged themselves through to extra time in a knockout game. And I will say this about England and about Spain, to be fair. Spain have looked brilliant in this tournament up until the final. England have not played as well at this tournament as in the World Cup or the previous Euros. So their two previous finals appearances. They win the Euros, obviously delayed Euros 3 years ago, and they were runners-up in the World Cup 2 years ago. Against Spain, they haven't looked as good in this tournament. I will stress that. I think Spain have looked just as good as what they were in the World Cup a couple of years ago, but the penalty shootout, they've had a meltdown. They've had an utter meltdown in the penalty shootout. Now, the game itself, the match itself, I think was pretty even. I think Spain slightly edged the first half, but they looked vulnerable on counter-attacks. They were exposed with their high defensive line. England did have chances and did force the Spanish goalkeeper into saves. And going the other way, Hannah Hampton in the England goal was busy as well. So it wasn't all Spain in the first half, even though they take the lead with Caldente's goal after 25 minutes. You have to question some of the defending there being a little bit passive and a little bit stationary. It's great interplay, passing and moving to get the cross in. You have to argue that, the defence was a little bit passive, a little bit stationary, like statues a little bit, and who's meant to be... there's not enough pressure put on Caldente. It's a brilliant header. Hannah Hampton is beaten all ends up with that header, but the defence there, not good enough, and that has been something that has been a bit of a concern for England in this tournament, is sometimes defensively they've been a bit sloppy. They have been exposed at times, and yet again another sloppy goal conceded. I think the only game England kept a clean sheet was against Holland. Every other game they've conceded a goal. So England's defence hasn't been as watertight in this tournament as in previous tournaments, and I think Spain deserved it at that point. They had been the better side at that point. They were passing and moving just that little bit quicker at that point. And England, you could definitely see those added minutes, those extra minutes they played in the previous two games. Looked like that just slightly caught up with them a little bit. Spain that little bit quicker, that little bit fresher. Although both sides were creating chances. Second half was pretty much the same as the first half. Pretty even, very, very little to separate them. And Russo's goal is almost a carbon copy of Caldente's goal, really. With good interplay, good passing and moving, and it's a headed goal. And it's a very good headed goal. And Russo's had a difficult tournament in regards to having goals ruled out for offside. The France game, I think the game in against Holland as well, she had a goal ruled out for offside. So what did she have to do to actually get a goal? She's had a bit of a frustrating group stage, but her interplay and her hold-up play has been really good. And it was a brilliant header. Let's not kid ourselves. It was a brilliant header, well-taken header. And it gave England some momentum. And neither side could get that winner in the 90 minutes. It was a very even game, let's be honest. Both sides created chances. Both goalkeepers pulled off saves and were kept busy. England defended better as the game went on. And I think Spain, they still had really good possession, passing and moving. But as the game went on, they were starting to gain that advantage and gain possession further up the field, and England just retreated more and more and more. It goes to extra time. Spain created the majority of the chances in extra time. England started to tire. You could definitely see that fatigue impact with those extra minutes in the previous two knockout games, with leaving late against Italy in the penalty shootout against Sweden. That definitely had an impact. Spain had obviously gone to extra time against Germany, but hasn't needed extra time against Switzerland. So they looked fresher. They looked like they had a little bit more energy. So England were on the back foot a little bit in extra time. Although Spain continued with this high line which England had exposed in this game, which was a vulnerability. But extra time remained goalless. We go to the penalty shootout. Now Beth Mead initially looks like she scored the first penalty, although she slipped, but it's a double contact, so it's a retake. Keeper saves the retake, and you're thinking, here we go. The first penalty's had to be retaken, and it's been saved. Spain score their first penalty. England then score their next 2 penalties. Spain missed their next 3. England have their 4th penalty saved, but because Spain missed their next 3, either saved by Hannah Hampton or missed altogether, the pressure penalty is Chloe Kelly, and she slots the winning penalty, much like she scored the winning goal against Italy right at the death. And England have won the penalty shootout 3-1. Spain honestly had a meltdown in that penalty shootout. I think Spain were not anticipating going to penalties, if I'm being honest. I think Spain thought they could win it in the 90. That obviously didn't transpire. And while they had more of the possession and create a lot of chances in that extra time and look more threatening in the extra time, they couldn't get that second goal. And I just don't think they were fully prepared for a penalty shootout. Either that, or they just, for whatever reason, and this is the world champions, they imploded in that penalty shootout, which means England retains their title, and they're the first team to do it since Germany way back in 2013, which means Serena Wiegmann has not lost a Euros final. She won it with the Dutch and she's won it twice with England. So that means Serena Wiegmann has never lost a Euros final. She's been to, I think, 4 out of the last 5. Is it 4 out of the last 5 finals or something? That England tournaments that either England or the Netherlands participated in. There's only one final she hasn't made, which was the 2019 World Cup final as a coach. And that's an insane record. And all the penalty shootouts England have won, they have won with Serena Wiegmann as the head coach. The other 4 they lost. So this has been a transformation, and yes, the building blocks were put in place before Serena Wiegmann took over with Phil Neville and Mark Sampson, the controversy surrounding Mark Sampson, but those building blocks were put in place bit by bit, and then Serena Wiegmann's taken those building blocks and plus added some other talent that's been selected and nurtured and brought through the system to make this side one of the best women's sides in the international game. Spain, look, they are still world champions, but that was a mental meltdown in that penalty shootout, and they've thrown it away from a winning position. They did create the better chances. They had the majority of the possession. It was a very even game, but they were better in possession. They created more chances. They were better in extra time. Came down to the pressure cooker moment of penalties, and they melted and they collapsed. So England have retained their Euros title. Considering where England were after that defeat against France, England have been in the win now mentality the entire way through the tournament. Whereas Spain cruised through the group, cruised through the quarter-final, and they dominated Germany, let's be honest. But they needed extra time for that. They haven't conceded many goals, and then they come up against the holders and it's gone a bit wrong. So whether that was an overconfidence issue, did they tactically get things wrong? Did they not pace themselves? Who knows? It'll be interesting to see how the Spanish media dissects their defeat. But England have retained their Euros title. Thank you very much for watching. Place your thoughts in the comments section below. And I'll have some more content for you all very, very soon.